My name is Clinton Babers, and you're tuned into In the Moment with Savvy Lifestyle Magazine. A lot of times in life, people always ask, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And everything that I wanted to do and everything that I've done has always been centered around music. And I finally got to the point of where, like, realizing, God's purpose and why He purposed me to be here. And accepting that, I didn't choose to do music. Like, growing up, I played football. I wanted to play football, but I always gravitated towards the band and the choir. I did a lot of law enforcement work, but I always wanted to, I'd rather be singing. A lot of other things I do just for fun still ended up going right back to singing, or playing.
That pretty smile on your face, smile for me, yeah. It's all I need to know in life.
Yes, and no at the same time. Yes, because it's so much, like things that I never would have imagined to be real, or places that I never would have imagined me going. Last year, in 2012, I was in 48 states in, I think, like 10 countries on 3 different continents, and it was just amazing, and all of that happened in 1 year. And now, this year, like, things are already moving and going so much higher and so much greater. And I'm really appreciative for it, and it's a blessing in itself.
Part of my days, when you look my way, I can see your
Didn't want to learn the 17 instruments, but I do have like a mild case of ADD. And the only thing that would ever keep my attention was, of course, music, So, it came down to a point of learning, I started on piano. Piano is my primary, that's my heartthrob, that's my passion. But, over the years, my expression changed. As I got older, different things, I could express myself differently with them. My first horn was a saxophone. Once I started with the alto sax, I picked up the soprano sax and the tenor sax and the baritone sax. And then I went to the baritone and the trombone and the French horn and the tuba, and it just kept going. And then by the time I got to middle school, I picked up, the acoustic guitar, and I was like, this is it for me, and then I started playing the bass at one of the churches that I was at the time, and I fell in love with that. And just everything just progressively became so much. And
I just can't say it with words. It's a simple gesture filled with pleasure. It destroys all my pain and removes all the hurts of the day.
I don't have a favorite of the 3. Because when it comes to writing, I'm very lyric heavy. Like, I believe in something being lyrically sound, giving you grounds to stand on and leaving you with the thought, like, to continue, like, to go back to. Like, man, I remember, it's kind of like hearing your favorite song from when you were growing up, or just a song that you remember, before it even starts, the music starts. And when you hear the music, you're like, oh, that's my song. You turn it up, and your mind immediately goes to, like, a memory from either your childhood, or like, the first time you fell in love, or like a good time or a bad time, or you remember like a specific. So the music covers that memory. The lyrics give you something to, what I write gives you something to remember, like something to take with you. And the production of it, man, I don't think I can get around producing. Like, everything, every emotion, everything has a sound, everything has a tone, everything has a chord, everything has a beat, everything has a heartbeat that gives you something else,
You look my way, I can see your face. Baby, smile for me.
I'm Open was my very initial project. It was the very first thing I ever did. Well, no, not the very first thing I ever did, but the very first thing I ever released. I'm Open was a story of growing up, from like a boy to a man, I guess I would say, and just different stories of being in love and falling in love, and falling out of love and arguments and the good times and the bad times, the times when you cuss each other out and then call back like 20 minutes later like, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. You know, and it was really just like an opening of who I am, like the heartaches and the heartbreaks and the smiling faces and you know, stories about, you know, there's even a song on there for, you know, from being a father to a little girl, you know, or, you know, a love for a son to his mother. You know, there's a different type of feeling that comes from I'm Open. Like, I'm really proud of I'm Open being my initial project with this next one, Pieces of Me. It's gonna make your life happy.
Lose my legs, but I'm okay if I can hold you in these arms of mine. Yeah, yeah.
Growing up, my mom never held us to one specific type of music, you know? We would listen to everything from Sade to Lou Rawls to Stan Getz to Michael Bolton to, you know, Otis Redding to The Temptations to, you know, just Michael McDonald and everyone, you know, and I'm really appreciative for that. And that really cultivated my ear and my heart for music and my delivery now to where I can have the singer-songwriter side of me meet the R&B soul side of me, meet the side of me that loves country music, you know, and bring it all together into one project and title it Pieces of Me, and you get all of these, but they still tie back into one center focus.
And though I may not have a lot to give, baby, you can have all of
There's something about, you know, encouraging and teaching the younger generation of musicians that I can't get around. And even when I'm not there at the school, I teach at Ramsey High School. Ramsey High School is a magnet school, actually, which focuses on science and arts. And, you know, just I can't get away from them. Even when I'm overseas, I Skype band rehearsals, like, because, you know, and it also, you know, motivates them as well to believe that, I mean, you can do anything that, you know, you set your mind to. Like, if this is what you want to do, you know, that you can also achieve that, you know. And
I know that you are smiling at me.
I have no idea, actually. I don't know. I performed, let's see, how did that happen? One of my good friends, one of my big brothers, and like he's a mentor, is a really, really great friend, Leon Timbo. I was his MD for about a year or two, and we did a lot of work. And one of the shows we did was just a showcase for BET Music Matters, and I was actually playing the piano for him, or probably on bass that night, pending, I don't remember. But I never said anything about my solo artistry, you know, and I was just there in my role, you know. And a month or two, no, we left there and we had to do some other stuff with Tyrese Gibson, which is another one of my former bosses, another good friend, you know, and another musical person who I like look up to, been looking up to since middle school, you know. And we did some performances that night in New York, and I came home, you know, normally after the touring and work was over, and maybe 6 months later, I get this email. It was like, hey, like, we remember you from the showcase we're playing with, you know, but we had no idea that you were like this artist who does like this, blah, 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 blah. So I got the initial invite to do the showcase in June of last year. And I took my band up to New York with me, and my photographer, my manager, and my advisor. We all went up, and I had 12 minutes to convince a whole room of so many people and execs, you know, that I would fit their campaign. And I think I did a pretty good job. Leon Timbo, Tyrese Gibson, Babyface, Tank, Anita Baker, Joe Brooks, Tyrone Wells, Tyler Hilton, Israel Houghton, like a slew of gospel artists. A lot of gospel artists.
I know that the key went to you. Every moment we spend, I swear it feels like heaven's within my view.
We're filling up the calendar for 2013. It's actually starting to fill up pretty quick. I'm in San Antonio next weekend, and then I leave for tour on March 10th, and I won't be home till like the earlier part of May. That's the initial tour stop. I tour full time now as a third staple member of a trio. This artist, his name is Joe Brooks. He's a really good friend of mine. He's really a brother from another mother in the truest sense of the word. He's from the UK, and one of the most talented singers and songwriters I've ever met. He is freaking awesome, but we've branded and stapled this trio to where he's out front on acoustic. I play keys and key bass and sing. And our drummer Matt plays the drums and sings at the same time. You should really take it out. I think you're gonna enjoy it a lot. You're the reason I show all my loving to you. Because you should go get it. You should go get it when it comes out. We're looking at early fall. Don't forget. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna love it. If you don't love it, you'll learn to love it. And if you don't learn to love it, I'll persuade you to love it. You should tell your cousins and your aunts and your moms and your sisters and your best friends and your co-workers and your frat brothers and your sorority sisters and everyone you can think of to go get it. Early fall, we're looking at October for this release. And that's all I have to say about that.